Amelia had always dreamed of something bigger than what her small town could offer. Ever since she was young, she felt the rhythm of life in the music she made. Whether it was humming in the kitchen or singing in the bathroom mirror, music had been her escape, her joy. But as she got older, she started to see it as her true calling. She wanted to share her voice with the world, to inspire others just like the artists she admired. However, not everyone shared her dream. Her partner, the person she trusted the most, didn't see things the same way. At first, he acted like he was supportive, encouraging her to follow her passions. But over time, his support began to feel more like control. Instead of lifting her up, he started to pull her down. He would belittle her ambitions, making her doubt whether she was truly good enough. "You're just a small-town girl," he'd say. "Nobody will ever take you seriously." Amelia tried to ignore his harsh words, thinking that maybe he was just being protective. But the more she worked on her music, the more he found ways to make her feel guilty for it. Whenever she spent too much time practicing or writing new songs, he'd complain that she was neglecting him. "You spend more time with your music than you do with me," he'd accuse. Amelia felt torn. She loved him, but she loved her music, too. It was her way of expressing everything she couldn't say in words. But no matter how much she tried to explain, he couldn't understand. His jealousy and insecurities grew with every passing day. Her music slowly began to feel like a burden, something she had to hide away. She started cancelling gigs, staying away from people who believed in her talent. Amelia's world became smaller, and she began to lose herself. The dreams that once fueled her were slowly slipping away, replaced by fear and doubt. She could feel her confidence fading, and the bright future she once imagined felt like a distant memory. Then one evening, everything changed. After another long argument, Amelia found herself alone in her room, staring at the guitar that had always been her source of comfort. The room was quiet. The only sound was the faint hum of the outside world. Amelia didn't know why, but she felt a sudden urge to play. She picked up her guitar and started strumming, letting the melody flow through her. It wasn't a song at first, just a few random chords, a little release of tension. But as she played, something inside her stirred. She felt the music fill the empty spaces inside her heart, and for the first time in days, she felt free. Her voice joined the guitar, soft at first, then growing louder, more confident. She sang from her heart, letting all the pain, confusion, and fear pour into every word. It was like the music gave her the strength to say everything she had been holding back for so long. She didn't care who was listening, or if anyone ever heard the song. In that moment, it was just her and the music. She had forgotten how healing it felt to sing, to express herself through the melodies she loved. That night, she made a decision. No matter what it took, she would not let anyone take away her love for music. Not him, not anyone. Her song, though, simple and raw, became a promise to herself. She would no longer hide her talent or her dreams. Amelia was going to find a way to make her voice heard, no matter how impossible it seemed. Amelia woke up the next morning with a new sense of determination. It wasn't just the melody from last night that kept playing in her mind. It was the realization that she was tired of feeling small. She had been quiet for so long, hiding her music, hiding her dreams. But something inside her had shifted. She couldn't keep quiet anymore. For the first time in a long while, she felt like herself again. The weight that had been pressing down on her chest seemed to lighten just a bit. She had spent so much time doubting her ability to make it in the music world. But now, she wasn't so sure if she had to keep waiting for someone's approval. The more she thought about it, the more she knew that this was something she couldn't ignore. Music wasn't just a dream, it was who she was. That evening, as the sun began to set, she sat by the window with her guitar in hand. The world outside was quiet, just the sound of a breeze rustling through the trees. She could hear the birds calling to each other, and the peacefulness made her want to play. She started strumming gently, letting the music fill the space around her. This time, though, she wasn't just playing for herself. She imagined the people who needed to hear her voice, the ones who might be feeling lost or broken, just like she had been. She closed her eyes and began to sing. The song came out of her, like it was always meant to be, raw and real. It was about the pain she had been through, the doubts she had fought, and the strength she had found. It was a song of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there was always a way forward. She poured everything she had into it, not caring if anyone was listening. For that moment, it felt like the whole world could hear her, and it was beautiful. After she finished, she sat quietly, her fingers still resting on the strings of her guitar. It was the first time in weeks that she had felt truly free. The song wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was her. She felt something stirring inside her, a sense of purpose that she hadn't felt in so long. It was like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders, and in its place was a fire she hadn't known was there. But even as she felt the thrill of creation, the fear started to creep back in. What if she wasn't good enough? What if no one cared? She had seen others chase their dreams only to fall short, and part of her wondered if that would be her fate too. She had been told so many times that she wasn't enough, that her dreams were too big for someone like her. Could she really go against everything she'd been told? But then she remembered last night, the way her voice had filled the room, how it had made her feel like she was finally on the path she was meant to be on. She wasn't going to let fear control her anymore. She had something to say, and if she didn't say it now, she might regret it forever. With a deep breath, she took her phone and recorded a rough demo of the song. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that was enough for her. She didn't know what would happen next, but in that moment, she made a promise to herself. She wasn't going to hide anymore. She was going to share her voice with the world, and maybe, just maybe, it would make a difference. Amelia sat quietly in her room, staring at the phone in her hand. She had just recorded the song, a raw, imperfect version of what was in her heart. She had no idea if it was any good, but there was something about it that felt real. For the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of accomplishment. The fear still lingered in the back of her mind, but it was quieter now. She couldn't keep the music inside anymore. After a long pause, she made a decision. She uploaded the recording to her social media account. It was a simple move, just putting it out there. But for Amelia, it felt like a huge step. She hit the post button and waited. Her heart raced as she watched the video go live. Was anyone going to listen? Was anyone going to care? She wasn't sure, but she had done it. She had taken a chance. At first, there was nothing. No likes, no comments, no messages. She felt the panic rise in her chest. Maybe it wasn't good enough after all. Maybe no one was interested in hearing her. But then, something unexpected happened. Slowly, the likes began to trickle in. Then came the comments. Encouraging, supportive messages from people she didn't even know. People were sharing her video, telling her that her song had touched them. Amelia couldn't believe it. The song, just a simple recording made in the privacy of her room, had started to spread. It wasn't just the people she knew who were listening. It was strangers, people from all over who found something in her, music that resonated with them. The more people shared it, the more Amelia began to believe that maybe this was the beginning of something real. A few days later, she got a message that would change everything. It was from a music producer. At first, she thought it was a joke, some random person pretending to be someone important. But as she read the message, her heart started to race. It was real. The producer wanted to meet with her. He had heard the song and thought it had potential. Amelia couldn't believe it. Her heart pounded in her chest as she read the message, over and over, not sure if she was dreaming. The next few days felt like a blur. She tried to stay calm, but the excitement kept bubbling up inside her. The idea that someone from the music industry had noticed her, that she might actually have a chance to make it, felt too good to be true. She kept asking herself if she was ready. Was she really ready for this? But deep down, she knew she had no choice but to go for it. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for, the chance she had always dreamed of. She wasn't going to let fear hold her back now. She had already taken the first step, and now it was time to take the next one. The day of the meeting, she was nervous but excited. She put on her best clothes, the ones that made her feel confident, and took a deep breath before leaving her house. Amelia's mind raced the entire time. What would the producer be like? What if she messed up? But as soon as she stepped into the building, everything felt real. This was it. She had made it this far, and now she was going to give it everything she had. Amelia sat down in front of the producer, and for a moment, the world around her seemed to fade away. It was just her, the music, and the chance to prove that her voice mattered. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Amelia's heart raced as she walked into the music producer's office. It was nothing like the small room where she recorded her first song. The bright lights, shiny surfaces, and sleek furniture felt a world away from the quiet space she had created her music in. But as soon as the producer greeted her with a warm smile, a sense of calm washed over her. This was the moment she had dreamed of. And now, it was happening. They sat down together, and Amelia felt the weight of the situation sink in. She had always imagined what it would be like to be in a room like this. But now that she was here, everything felt real. The producer asked her to play her song, and Amelia didn't hesitate. She had spent days wondering if she was ready for this. But now, as she took a deep breath and started strumming her guitar, all the doubts seemed to fade. It was just her and the music, the way it had always been. As the last note lingered in the air, Amelia looked up to see the producer nodding, clearly impressed. She couldn't help but feel a little proud of herself. Her song, the one she had written in a moment of pain and doubt, was finally being heard by someone who understood its worth. The producer smiled and told her that he had never heard anything quite like it. He could see the potential in her voice, in the raw emotion that poured through every lyric. He told her she had something special, something people would want to listen to. Amelia felt like she was floating. All the nights she spent worrying about whether she was good enough, all the times she doubted herself, seemed to melt away in that moment. Someone believed in her. For the first time in a long while, Amelia allowed herself to truly believe in herself too. The producer offered her a contract, a real chance to make a career out of her music. Amelia couldn't believe it. She had only just posted her song online a few weeks ago, and now she was sitting in front of a music producer, being offered a deal. She took a moment to let the reality sink in before signing. She knew that this was just the beginning of a long journey, but it was a journey she was finally ready to take. The excitement of the moment was overwhelming, but Amelia knew she had a lot of work ahead of her. As she walked out of the building, her mind was racing with questions. What would her next steps be? Would she be able to handle the pressure of the music industry? But for the first time, instead of feeling scared, she felt empowered. She had taken a chance, and it had paid off. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from someone who had heard her song online. They thanked her for her music, saying it had helped them through a difficult time. Amelia smiled as she read the message. It was moments like this that reminded her why she made music in the first place. It wasn't about fame or money. It was about connecting with people, sharing her story, and helping others feel seen and heard. As she walked home, the world around her seemed a little brighter. She had made it past the first big hurdle, but she knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. There would be challenges, obstacles, and moments of doubt. But she also knew that she was ready to face them. She had something worth sharing, and no matter what, she wasn't going to stop. Her music had found its place in the world, and now it was her turn to make sure the world heard it. The weeks following the meeting with the producer felt like a whirlwind. Amelia had signed the contract, but even though everything was moving so fast, a part of her couldn't shake the fear. There were moments when she found herself alone, questioning if she was really cut out for this world. The pressure to succeed, the fear of failing, it was overwhelming at times. What if this was all just a fluke? What if she wasn't as good as people thought? The producer had big plans for her. He wanted her to record a full album, put together a promotional campaign, and start performing live shows. Amelia was excited, but the more she thought about it, the more nervous she became. What if her music didn't live up to the expectations? What if people didn't like her new songs? The world was expecting something from her now, and that scared her. At night, when the world outside was quiet, she would sit by her window, the soft glow of the streetlights flickering in the distance, and wonder if she had made the right choice. It was hard not to hear the voices of doubt creeping in, telling her that she wasn't ready. But every time she picked up her guitar, something inside her reminded her why she started in the first place. The music was her true voice, the one she could trust, the one that had always been with her. One evening, as she sat in the studio preparing for a recording session, the producer walked in. He could tell something was bothering her, and after a brief silence, he asked what was wrong. Amelia hesitated but then opened up. She confessed her fear, the anxiety that was slowly creeping up on her. She told him how she was afraid of disappointing everyone who believed in her. The producer listened carefully, and then with a gentle smile, he reminded her of something important. This isn't about perfection. It's about being real, about sharing your story. People don't want to hear a perfect version of you. They want to hear the truth. That's what makes your music special. You're not alone in this. We're in this together. Those words stuck with Amelia. It was easy to get caught up in the pressure, to focus on what she had to do next, but what the producer said reminded her of why she started singing in the first place. It wasn't for fame or recognition. It was because the music gave her a sense of purpose, a way to connect with people. The connection she had with her listeners, the way her music made them feel understood, was more important than any external pressure. Feeling more grounded, she decided to let go of her fear and focus on what truly mattered. She spent the next few days pouring her heart into the new songs, writing lyrics that reflected not just her struggles, but her growth. She was no longer hiding behind doubt or fear. She was writing from a place of strength, of acceptance. As she started recording her new songs, something incredible happened. The music flowed out of her effortlessly. There was no more second-guessing, no more worrying about what others might think. She was finally free to create for herself, to write the music that mattered to her. The first few tracks were recorded, and Amelia couldn't believe how good they sounded. She had poured everything into them, every ounce of pain, hope, and joy she had ever felt. When she listened to the finished tracks, she felt a sense of pride. She was creating something real, something that came from her heart, and that was enough. But as the album came together, her past began to resurface. It wasn't easy to keep pushing forward, especially when the memories of the toxic relationship she had been in crept back into her thoughts. Amelia had spent so much time hiding those feelings, locking them away. Now, with the music finally flowing, they started to come up. But rather than shutting them down, she decided to confront them head-on. She knew that this was part of her healing process. Her music wasn't just for her fans, it was for her too. The more she embraced her past and the emotions tied to it, the stronger her music became. It wasn't just about the sound anymore. It was about the message, the emotion, and the power of sharing her truth. With each song she recorded, Amelia felt more confident. She had nothing to hide anymore. This album wasn't just her way of pursuing a dream. It was her way of reclaiming her life. Amelia's heart pounded as she watched her music take on a life of its own. The album was finished, the songs ready to be shared with the world, but the journey was just beginning. The moment she had worked so hard for was finally here. The day her first single dropped felt surreal. It wasn't just a song now. It was a piece of her story, a reflection of everything she had been through. As the song hit streaming platforms, her nerves were a mix of excitement and fear. Would people connect with it? Would they understand the message she poured into every note? Within hours, the response was overwhelming. Social media exploded with messages from fans who had heard her song and felt moved by it. People from all corners of the world were sharing how her music resonated with them, how it made them feel seen, understood, and empowered. Amelia couldn't believe it. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just making music for herself. She was making music that was touching others too. The comments kept coming, thousands of them. People were telling her how much her song meant to them, how it helped them through their own struggles. Some shared their stories of heartbreak, of overcoming hardships, and of finding their own strength. It felt like a weight had been lifted off Amelia's shoulders. She had always feared her music wouldn't matter, that she wouldn't be able to reach anyone. But now she saw how wrong she had been. The connection she had hoped for was real, and it was more powerful than she ever imagined. Her song became an anthem for many, a reminder that no matter how dark things seemed, there was always a way forward. Amelia's words were no longer just her own, they were now part of a bigger conversation. She was helping people heal, one note at a time. The thought of that was humbling and inspiring all at once. The idea that her music could make a difference in someone's life was both surreal and beautiful. But as the praise came in, so did the pressure. The music industry wasn't all sunshine and celebration. There were expectations now. Expectations from fans, from the producer, from herself. She had to keep writing, keep creating, keep performing. The pressure to follow up her first success with something even bigger weighed heavily on her. For the first time since the music started picking up, Amelia felt the familiar fear creeping back in. Was she really ready for this? Could she keep living up to the standards everyone had set for her? The pressure wasn't just external, it was also internal. She wanted to prove to herself that she could keep going, that this wasn't just a one-hit wonder. But she also knew that she couldn't let that pressure drown out the reasons she started making music in the first place. Amelia had to remind herself that this wasn't about perfection. It was about being real, about staying true to who she was. Despite the anxiety, she kept moving forward. She performed at small venues, sharing her story with anyone who would listen. Every show felt like a new step, a new chance to connect with people. The nerves were always there, but the excitement of sharing her music with a live audience outweighed the fear. Each performance was better than the last, and with every show, her confidence grew. She realized that the pressure to be perfect wasn't as important as the joy of making music that was real to her. With each performance, she found herself growing, both as an artist and as a person. She wasn't the same person who had first picked up her guitar in that small room. She was stronger now, more confident in who she was and what she could do. Amelia had found her place in the world of music, not because she was perfect, but because she was honest, and that was enough. Amelia stood backstage, the sound of the crowd's excitement vibrating through the walls. It was a moment she had dreamed of for so long, and now it was finally happening. She was about to perform at one of the biggest venues of her career, and the nerves were there, as they always were before a show. But this time, they didn't feel like fear. They felt like anticipation. She had come a long way from the uncertain woman who had been afraid to share her music. Now, she knew that no matter what happened next, she was ready. As she stepped onto the stage, the lights blinding her for a moment, the sea of faces in the crowd filled her with a mixture of awe and calm. She could hear the cheers, the voices of people who had followed her journey from the beginning. There was a sense of connection between them now, something unspoken that made everything feel real. She wasn't just performing to a crowd. She was performing for people who had supported her, who had found strength in her music. It wasn't about proving herself anymore. It was about sharing something that mattered, something that came from deep within her. The first notes of the song rang out, and Amelia felt the familiar rush of adrenaline as her voice filled the space. It was more than just singing. It was an expression of everything she had been through, everything she had learned. As she sang, she felt herself being carried by the music, by the connection she had with her audience. It wasn't just about hitting the right notes or delivering the perfect performance. It was about being real, about letting her heart speak through the words. Every song she sang felt like a conversation, a way to connect with everyone in that room, to share a piece of her soul. As the show went on, Amelia realized how far she had come. She was no longer the person who had been afraid to step into the spotlight. She was no longer the woman who had been held back by doubt and fear. She had found her place on that stage, and it felt like home. The crowd wasn't just there to hear her sing. They were there because her music meant something to them. It had helped them through their own struggles, just as it had helped her. She could feel their energy, their support, and it filled her with a sense of purpose she had never known before. The tour continued, and with every performance, Amelia grew more confident. She traveled to cities she had only dreamed of visiting, performing for people who had become like a second family to her. The anxiety that had once held her back was now replaced with excitement and gratitude. She wasn't just chasing a dream anymore. She was living it, and she was doing it on her own terms. Every song she wrote, every performance she gave, was a testament to her journey, to the strength she had found within herself. But more than the applause, more than the success, Amelia realized that what truly mattered was the impact her music had on others. She received messages from people who shared how her songs had helped them heal, how they had given them the courage to keep going. Some told her they had been through tough times, feeling lost and alone, but her music had been a lifeline. These stories touched her more than anything else. The fact that her music had made a difference in someone else's life was worth more than any award or recognition. Amelia knew that her journey wasn't over. There would always be challenges ahead, moments when doubt crept in, and days when the weight of it all felt heavy. But she also knew that she had everything she needed to face whatever came next. Her voice, her music, and the people who believed in her. She had found her purpose, and nothing could take that away. As the final song of the night played and the audience erupted into cheers, Amelia stood at the front of the stage, taking it all in. She had come so far, from a place of fear and uncertainty to a place of strength and confidence. The world was listening now, and she was ready to share more of her story. The music, her music, had made the world listen, and in return, it had given her the freedom she had always longed for.